What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and in this video we're going to be talking about two different stocks, IREN and CRWD. At the inspiration of the legendary Jim Cramer, he posted and said, "The only way you would know that we were going back up is if you watch this show. Go buy some CRWD, go sell some IREN." So naturally, we're going to do some TA on both of these stocks. If that sounds good to you, hit the like button, subscribe, and let's get into it. He did say CRWD first, so let's start with that. We'll start with that one, saying to buy. I'm not so sure it is a good time to buy. And in fact, if we look at this, get to know it on a long-term scale, because I've never seen this before. CrowdStrike Holdings. I guess we've actually done some research on this, or some technical analysis on this before, but it's been a long time. High to low, it went just above your 1414 area. Maybe from here you're at $506. Maybe you do push higher to 616. This is your golden ratio, but there's nothing that says you have to. I want to look at your indicators. Your monthly indicators, look at this. You have bearish divergence on your monthly RSI. You have bearish divergence on the stochastics, and you have bearish divergence on the MACD. In all fairness, that divergence formed between this point here and the closing high of this point, you've already gone substantially below where that divergence formed. So you don't have to go lower because of that. But rejecting the overbought zone nonetheless is not something that's a good thing. It's not a good thing normally, okay? We look at this on the weekly time frame, we zoom in a little bit, and further you can see this bearish divergence. Again, high, lower high, lower high. You have a high, higher high, higher high. In this sense, the divergence started back here with this high. We have not interacted with this high, so there's still a date with destiny down to this price. Now we do have double bullish divergence at the moment, or bearish divergence at the moment. We could run higher, push higher to that golden ratio zone. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know why I deleted it. Maybe I shouldn't. I'll just leave it up there. The golden ratio is at 616. Okay. We'll leave that there. I'll color it orange so that we know which line that is. That's the golden ratio line. Somewhere around there, maybe we push higher. We create more bearish divergence, and then we finally drop down to $454 or lower. Likely lower. Likely you do go lower. If not, then also another probable outcome would be that we don't go up at all. We don't push up to 615, 620 at all. We just drop from here, right? From a weekly perspective, the RSI rejecting the overbought zone like this and just getting progressively weaker, that's not a good look. I would think you do come down. I'm not seeing anything here that suggests we go up. You kind of bounced around the 50. That's nice. I guess it's worked out for you before. Maybe that's one positive thing there. Stochastics would suggest that we go lower, and the weekly MACD just crossed red this week. We have 2 days, 6 hours left. If this week closes here or lower, I don't see a scenario where we push higher. I would think that we do in fact go below 454 before we push higher. Looking at the daily time frame, rejecting the 50 here. You're rejecting the 50. Stochastics are rejecting the 50. The MACD looks bearish. Yeah, the more that we look into the short-term stuff, the more bearish I become. I gave you the benefit of the doubt on the monthly time frame, but now what I think is going to happen, again, we look at this weekly time frame, we have the bearish divergence that goes all the way back. I don't think I even put it at the right price right there. You look at the daily time frame and look at this. We have a gap down here. So you have bearish divergence where this gap formed. What you're going to do from here is you're going to fill that gap. You'll find your support somewhere down here, probably between this line and between this low point here. Find support and then continue to rally. What would be a good area to find support in between these areas here? If we take a low to a high, look, the golden ratio itself is right here where the divergence started. That's the white line. That weekly divergence started. The date with destiny that we have is that we would go to this white line and likely below it. Okay. And then on top of that, you have a gap, a very voluptuous gap there, nice fill to have, and then low to high, golden ratio. It just makes sense. We're probably going to find support. We're at $505 now. You're probably going to drop down to $459 to $447. If you don't find support there, your best bet would then be $432 to $419 as support. So lower, probably lower. That would be my guess. Daily RSI looks sad. You are in a downtrend. Lower highs, lower lows. Even if you come up from here, you're still in a downtrend. Still got lower highs, lower lows, but you're rejecting the 50 here. I don't like it. Stochastics looks sad, and so does the MACD. Yeah, I'm sticking with it to the downside. So looks like Cramer is giving us the clear signal here. Go buy some CRWD. You know what that means. Definitely don't buy it now. Wait until later. Wait until later. Long term, I think CRWD is going to do well. I mean, obviously you have a very robust monthly indicator set up here. But I don't think it's the time right now. I think you're probably going to consolidate a little bit. Pull back down to that $400 level. Anyways, that's CRWD. Let's talk about IREN now. Cramer is saying to sell. So go sell some IREN. Is it a good time to buy, I wonder? Well, we look at the daily time frame. We do have higher lows in the RSI, higher lows in the stochastics, higher lows in the MACD histogram, and we have lower lows in the price. That is bullish divergence. You had a lot of volume come in here on this candle yesterday. A lot of volume came in on this candle. That's your breakout candle. And you didn't go anywhere. You got a higher low. Lower low on a closing price, lower low on a closing price, but higher low overall. You broke out with immense volume because you broke out, you closed lower than this candle here, but you didn't go anywhere. And today you're up 3%. That's weird. With bullish divergence, if we look at this on a weekly time frame, you're right at the 50, which is a perfect area to bounce. You do have higher lows, and you have lower lows in the RSI. That's hidden bullish divergence. Lower lows in the stochastics. That's hidden bullish divergence. Even lower lows in the MACD, that's hidden bullish divergence. Now, what I will say is looking at the weekly time frame, I wouldn't be surprised if we did move a little bit lower. But again, kind of inverse of what Cramer's saying here, I think that we would more likely be at a place to buy rather than a place to sell. Look, you're right there at the 236. It's a perfect area. I will say this. If we go too much below these lows, really at all, I would think at that point we do go to $27. I don't necessarily see that happening now, but 27 would make a lot of sense. That's your IPO price right there, right? Or that's whenever you listed. I think this is the same thing, right? Whenever you IPO'd right there. It would make sense to find support around there if you were to go lower. The stochastics technically suggested we'd go lower. The MACD, because it is red, it just crossed red. Typically on the weekly time frame, you don't just cross red one week and then cross back. But I mean, here you did that exact thing. You've crossed green before and then crossed back. So I mean, it can happen. I would just say that if you don't hold this area for support, if you do take out lower lows, you likely do proceed down to $27. In which case, okay, Cramer, I agree with you there. I don't think that you'd go too much lower. There's a lot of volume up here at the highs. I don't know, man. Maybe on the macro you do pull back to 27. It just makes sense that you pull back there because that's prior your IPO. It's a very significant price level. You could pull all the way back down to your golden ratio too. Interesting. Kind of interesting. I want to go back to the daily time frame here. I do think that you go lower. You do have this bullish divergence. Let's be fair. But it's kind of already played out. It's kind of already played out. Maybe you come up from here a little bit, and if you do, maybe you get a lower high or something like that, just because Cramer's saying sell, so maybe you get a little pump. But ultimately, I think he actually will be proven right. I think that this will drop lower. So 1 for 1, or 1 for 2 at least. It's not bad. Let's look at the 1 hour time frame and see if we're seeing anything else here. No, the 1 hour looks sad too. Yep. The only thing that's weird is that you got this breakout volume, and you just didn't go anywhere. And you're kind of at like a double bottom. I would expect this. I would expect this for IREN. You probably come up. Maybe you only go up to $48. You back test prior support for resistance. Prior resistance for resistance. You come up here to about $48, $49. You find resistance and then you go down. Or you break out of this. You see a lower high, a lower macro high. Maybe you retrace like this from a high to a low. You go up to your golden ratio zone right there at about $59 to $61. And then you pull back. But I wouldn't get too excited, even if you do pump up to $60. I wouldn't get too excited. I wouldn't be excited for IREN until it's back above, I mean, really back above $70. Until then, it's very likely that you do push lower, I would say. It does look like a nice kind of like bit of consolidation here. I just don't like the daily RSI. I don't like the daily stochastics. I like the bullish divergence. We've already seen the move. I don't like the weekly stochastics. I don't like the weekly MACD. It's bullish overall, but again, you've been moving up consistently. Might it be some time to consolidate? I think it will. So anyways, that's all I got. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. I expect probably a little bit of selling pressure for CRWD, over the short term and the midterm. And then for IREN, probably a little bit of buying pressure. We probably move up over the short term, but then later this month, or probably going into the future weeks and months ahead, we probably do push lower. Okay, take care. Bye bye. See you later.